From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang and here are the news. Malacañang on Tuesday said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is unconcerned about the impeachment charge filed against him as he has not committed any impeachable offenses and has followed the Constitution and law. Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro said the President remains optimistic despite the filing of the first impeachment allegation against him since taking office in 2022. The impeachment complaint filed by lawyer Andre De Jesus and endorsed by Pusong Pinoy Party List Representative Jet Nisay accused President Marcos of violating the Constitution and betraying public trust over issues such as the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte on an international criminal court warrant as well as alleged corruption in flood control projects. The palace has previously characterized the complaint as baseless, claiming that the issues presented were nothing new and had already been addressed.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang said the impeachment complaint filed against Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. could have a detrimental effect on the country's image and economic stability. Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro said the administration had no involvement in the filing of the impeachment complaint, dismissing claims that it was a scripted distraction.
Hindi po natin masasabi na ang pagpa-file ng impeachment complaint paunahan ay bentahe sa Pangulo. Kahit sino pa po ang nag-file niyan. Hindi maganda sa imahe ng Pangulo na siya ay masampahan ng impeachment complaint. Hindi rin po ito maganda sa pananaw ng mga ekonomista sa ating ekonomiya dahil nakikita po may mga taong di umano na hindi satisfied or negatibo sa pagtatrabaho ng Pangulo. So, hindi po ito bentahe. Kahit sino pa po ang nagsampa niyan. Hindi po maganda na makatanggap ang Pangulo ng isang impeachment complaint.
Davao City 1st District Representative Paulo Duterte Monday questioned the motive behind the filing, claiming that the lawyer who filed the impeachment complaint was the same lawyer who represented First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos in a disbarment case. Castro categorically denied the allegation, calling it fake news. She added that even if a disbarment case had been filed, it would have been done on the lawyer's own initiative and not in the representation of the First Lady. She also rejected claims that the administration had anything to do with the alleged orchestration of the impeachment complaint, emphasizing that the Marcos administration respects the Constitution and due process.
Una po, gusto natin ipabatid na ang Pangulo po at ang administrasyon na ito ay hindi po eksperto sa paggawa ng intriga at hindi eksperto sa pagplanta ng ebidensya. Kung yun po ang kanilang nailagay na grounds for the impeachment ng ating Pangulo, malamang ay wala silang makitang ibang dahilan para ma-impeach ang Pangulo. Ito ay policy difference at ito ay hindi base or rather hindi ito magiging dahilan para sa impeachment ng ating Pangulo. Kung ang sinasabi niya ay ang nagsamparaw ng kaso ay abogado na nag-represent kay unang ginang or First Lady Liza Marcos, yan po ay walang katotohanan. So sana po ay matapos na ang pagiging source of fake news ng mga kaalyado nila. Dahil ang First Lady po ay hindi po nagsasampa ng disbarment case. Hindi po niya abogado ang nasabing nagsampa ng impeachment complaint sa Pangulo. At kung nagsampa man siya ng disbarment case, ito ay on his own volition. So, hindi po niya nire-represent ang unang ginang. So, that's fake news. Definitely none. Kaya nga sabi natin, hindi po tayo sangkot sa anumang pagplanta ng ebidensya katulad ng ginawa ng kanyang ama. Sila lamang po yata ang sanay sa ganon. So, sa panahon po ni Pangulo Marcos Jr., nirerespeto po natin ang konstitusyon, ang proseso at ang due process.
On the one-year bar rule on impeachment under the Constitution, Castro said Malacañang does not see any advantage for the president even if the first complaint is officially referred to and initiated at the House of Representatives Committee on Justice. Asked whether President Marcos has issued a statement on the impeachment complaint, Castro said the president's position remains unchanged, noting that he has no plan to intervene.
Yun pa rin po. Kung ano man po ang nandiyan at maihain na impeachment complaint, igagalang po yan. At dapat lamang po sana, lahat po tayo, pati po ang mga miyembro ng House of Representatives, ay gumalang sa konstitusyon, due process at proseso.
Reacting to the possibility that House Majority Leader and Presidential Son Ilocos Norte 1st District Representative Ferdinand Alexander Sandro Marcos III may have to act on the impeachment complaint against his father, she said the president has consistently reminded his son to simply perform his duty.
Hindi po nabanggit sa atin kung sila'y nagkapag-usap na, but lagi naman pong utos ng Pangulo sa kanyang anak, gawin lang ang kanyang trabaho. Hindi pwede rito ang kamag-anak, kaalyado. Kung ano po ang mandato ni Congressman Sandro, ipatupad niya po yun. Wala dapat siyang kinikilingan. Kahit ama niya po ang masasabing mahalalagay dito sa impeachment complaint.
Representative Zia Alonto Adio said the impeachment complaint lodged against the president is fundamentally weak, lacks credible evidentiary support, and is widely expected to fail to garner the necessary votes to proceed beyond the verification stage in the House of Representatives. In a statement, Adjong said impeachment must not be wielded on the basis of recycled accusations, hearsay, or purely political grievances. He noted that the accusations directed at President Marcos rely almost entirely on long-standing claims from vocal criticisms, claims that have already been repeatedly aired in public without producing new, verifiable evidence capable of withstanding constitutional muster. Adyong also warned against treating impeachment as a casual political tool, saying reckless or premature filings could damage the country's international standing and undermine investor confidence.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Tuesday said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. expressed sadness over the arrest of former Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr., whom he considers both an ally and a personal friend. Speaking to reporters, Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Under Secretary Claire Castro said President Marcos expressed sadness over the incident when asked about Revilla's arrest during a meeting at Malacañang Palace in Manila earlier in the day. However, the palace acknowledged that legal process must be followed, considering that the Revilla was implicated in the anomalous flood control project in Bulacan. She emphasized the importance of allowing the legal process to take its course. Revilla sought re-election under the administration-backed Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas senatorial slate in 2025 but did not win. He voluntarily surrendered to authorities Monday night after the Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division ordered his arrest over his alleged involvement in the so-called ghost flood control projects in Pandi, Bulacan.
Dateline Malacañang.
In related news, Malacañang said it is normal for former Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr. to claim that there is no due process following the issuance of an arrest warrant against him in connection with the alleged ghost flood control project in Bulacan. Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Under Secretary Claire Castro said Revilla's arrest demonstrated respect for legal processes, noting that the former lawmaker is an ally of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Tandaan po natin, ayoko man banggitin, pero ang kasama ng Pangulo sa alyansa ay walang iba, kundi ang dating Senator Bong Revilla. At si Senator Bong Revilla ay sumuko po. Ginalang ang proseso. Iginalang ang warrant of arrest, iginalang ang korte.
President Marcos was initially surprised when the arrest warrant was issued against Revilla, considering that they are political allies, Castro said, but emphasized that investigations must proceed regardless of personal ties.
Una pa lang po nabanggit ang pangalang Senator Bong Revilla, doon pa lang po nag-react na po ang Pangulo. At syempre nagulat po siya dahil kaalyado niya po. Pero sabi nga niya po, makailang ulit sabihin niya, kahit nga po kaalyado, kung kailangan imbestigahan, dapat imbestigahan.
Revilla voluntarily surrendered Monday night after the Sandigan Bayan issued a warrant of arrest against him over charges arising from his alleged involvement in a 92.8 million Philippine peso ghost flood control project in Pandi, Bulacan. Asked whether Revilla's arrest marked the beginning of accountability for high-profile individuals involved in the flood control controversy, Castro said authorities are already halfway through holding so-called big fish accountable. Castro cited arrests made before Christmas, noting that the Diskaya couple are among the big fish who have already been issued warrants of arrest and detained.
Hindi po siya simula. Halos nasa gitna na nga po siguro tayo eh. Dahil tandaan po natin bago magpasko, marami na po ang nagkaroon ng warrant of arrest. Marami na na-issue ng warrant of arrest. Isa rito, hindi lang siguro tinutulong ng iba, na big fish ang Diskaya. Sila po ay naaresto. Si Sara Diskaya ay napa-aresto, napakulong bago magpasko. So, hindi po ito yung initial na pagpapanagot sa mga sinasabing big fish.
Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Under Secretary Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. believes former Department of Public Works and Highways DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan will testify truthfully during a Senate investigation into suspected irregularities in public infrastructure projects. Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Under Secretary Claire Castro said the President trusts Bonoan, recognizes the gravity of testifying before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, where remarks are presented under oath.
Naniniwala po ang Pangulo na si dating Secretary Manny Bonoan ay magsasabi ng katotohanan, lalong-lalo naman po na siya ay nasa Senado at under oath ang kanyang mga sinasabi. So, kailangan lamang po tayo umasa na mga katotohanan lamang ang kanyang sasabihin.
The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is looking into suspected inconsistencies surrounding infrastructure projects. On Monday, Bonoan appeared before the panel to answer questions on his tenure at DPWH. His next appearance before the committee has not yet been scheduled. Castro emphasized that Senate hearings are subject to strong standards and legal accountability, saying that witnesses must tell the truth or face serious legal penalties.
Dateline Malacañang.
In related news, Department of Public Works and Highways DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon is confident that the charges and pieces of evidence against former Ako Bicol Representative Zaldeco and others involved in the anomalous flood control project in Oriental Mindoro are well-founded. Co and several former officials of the DPWH Mimaropa are facing graft charges linked to an anomalous flood control project worth 289 million pesos in Nauhan, Oriental Mindoro. Dizon also believed that the anti-graft court would give a fair judgment based on substantial evidence presented for the case to stand. He added the proper process was followed in the investigation of the questionable flood control project, which also went through the Commission on Audit or COA. At the same time, Dizon said he is expected to appear frequently before the anti-graft court hearings due to similar cases involving flood control projects in Davao Occidental and Bulacan. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police or PNP said it is ready to help validate the flood control projects amid reports that wrong coordinates were given to investigators. Acting PNP Chief Lieutenant General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. issued a statement after Department of Public Works and Highways, DPWH Under Secretary Arthur Bisnar told the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Monday that inspections should start over due to discrepancies in the grid coordinates of certain projects. He emphasized that the police force is prepared to provide technical investigative support to any concerned agency, including engineering, verification, and forensic validation of the projects under review. Combined teams from the police and the military have so far inspected more than 10,000 flood control projects nationwide, but Bisnar said there is a need to revisit these projects to verify compliance and resolve any anomalies.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Tuesday said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will await the submission of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI report before deciding whether to appoint new members or determine the body's next steps. The ICI earlier said it would submit its report to the Office of the President despite being unable to resume full operations due to lack of quorum. The resignations of Commissioners Rogelio Singson and Rosana Fajardo on December 15 and December 31, 2025, respectively, left Chairperson Justice Andres Reyes Jr. as the Commission's sole member. Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Cleo Castro said the President will base his decision on the findings and recommendations contained in the report. Castro said the ICI has completed its fact-finding mandate, with its remaining task focused on consolidating evidence and testimonies related to alleged anomalies in flood control projects. She added that most individuals invited by the ICI cooperated with the probe except for Davao City 1st District Representative Paulo Duterte and the late former Department of Public Works and Highways DPWH Undersecretary Catalina Cabral. Responding to criticisms questioning the president's sincerity in forming the ICI, Castro said the administration's efforts to curb corruption, particularly involving anomalous flood control projects, are evident. She stressed that Executive Order or EO number 94, which created the ICI, mandates the investigation of transactions covering the past 10 years and noted that the Commission's work has not been formally concluded. Castro reiterated that the President made clear that no one is exempt from investigation.
Titingnan muna kung ano yung maging report ng ICI at doon po titingnan kung ano yung susunod na hakbang. At patungkol naman po, binanggit na po natin, pag-shield, hindi po ito para mag-cover up ni Numan. Dahil ang Pangulo, sinabi ng makailang beses, ulitin ko po, walang sinasanto. Kaalyado, kamag-anak, kaibigan, kung kinakailangan maimbestigahan, imbestigahan. Yan po ang utos ng Pangulo.
Under Executive Order number 94, the ICI may take official action only with the approval of a majority of its members. Despite the quorum issue, the ICI reported that it completed significant fact-finding work before the commissioners' resignations. As of December 26, 2025, the commission had filed 8 referrals with the Office of the Ombudsman, excluding joint referrals with the DPWH involving nearly 100 individuals. The referrals have so far resulted in the filing of 3 cases by the Ombudsman and the arrest of 16 individuals.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is set to hold a full slate of meetings, including discussions on proposed priority legislations such as the anti-political dynasty and citizen access and disclosure of expenditures for national accountability or Cadena bills. Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Cleo Castro said the President will begin the day with a meeting with Executive Secretary Ralph Recto to be followed by a private meeting focused on the proposed anti-political dynasty bill, a long-standing constitutional measure aimed at limiting political dynasties in government. The president is also scheduled to hold separate private meetings with the Philippine Reclamation Authority and Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. The Cadena Bill mandates all government agencies to upload and regularly update detailed budget-related documents on a centralized digital budget platform including contracts, project costs, bills of materials, and procurement records.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Tuesday urged the public to explore destinations in the Philippines amid reported difficulties faced by travel agencies in securing Japanese visa appointments for their clients. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro said concerns over the alleged shortage of appointment slots for Japanese visas have been referred to the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA. While the issue is being addressed, Castro encouraged travelers to visit local tourist destinations, noting that this would also help boost the domestic economy.
Sa ngayon po ay sinangguni natin ito sa DOT, but sabi po nila outbound ito, kaya hindi po nila sakop. At sa ngayon po ay isinasangguni ko rin po ito sa DFA. But pansamantala, habang sila ay naghihintay ng kanilang visa na i-issue ng bansang Japan, ay ito naman kanilang polisiya. At ginagalang natin to. Pero habang sila ay naghihintay, mas maganda po sigurong i-explore ng ating mga kababayan ang Pilipinas. Iangat din natin ang turismo ng Pilipinas at kung sila ay kikita dahil sa travel tax at kikitain ng mga tourism agencies, mas kikita rin po sila kung iaangat nila ang turismo ng Pilipinas.
Tourism Business Association Incorporated or GTBA has sought the assistance of the Japanese embassy over the continued shortage of appointment slots for Japanese visas. This came after travel agents reported difficulty in helping clients secure the required documents to enter Japan. GBTA said there was an advisory from VFS Global, the Japan Embassy's official partner for scheduling, that the next available appointment slots for a Japan visa have been moved to April.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, more than 10 million pesos worth of assistance has been provided by the government and other stakeholders to families affected by the ongoing restiveness of Mayon volcano in Albay, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council or NDRIMC. The assistance amounting to 10,266,746,000 worth of food and other essential items was provided to 1,131 families residing in Albay, the agency reported in situational update posted on its website. It said Mayon volcano's ongoing restiveness has affected 1,304 families, equivalent to 5,007 persons residing in 14 barangays in the province. Of this number, 1,114 families are being aided in 12 evacuation centers, while 17 families are receiving aid outside shelters. On January 16, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology or PHIVOLCS raised the alert status of Mayon volcano from level 2 increasing unrest to level 3 increased tendency toward a hazardous eruption. Repeated collapse of the unstable summit dome of Mayon volcano has generated an increasing number and volume of rockfall events. Since January 1, a total of 346 rockfall events and 4 volcanic earthquakes were recorded, compared to 599 rockfall events from November to December 2025. These rockfall events had durations of 1 minute to 5 minutes and transported lava debris within a kilometer range of the southern upper slopes. State seismologists added that the volume of discrete rockfall with observed incandescence at nighttime increased Monday, signaling an increase in dome growth and the onset of extrusion of new lava at the crater.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW assured the public that Filipino domestic worker in Hong Kong who was allegedly abused by her employer in a viral video is now safe and under government protection. In a news release, Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak said the overseas Filipino worker or OFW, identified by the pseudonym Bernadette to protect her privacy, is currently staying in a protected shelter in Hong Kong, while authorities conduct medical and legal procedures related to her case. He added that the OFW remains under close observation while waiting for her medical results. Meanwhile, on the legal aspect, Secretary Kakdak said that Hong Kong Labor Attaché Cesar Chavez Jr., together with a legal representative, will accompany Bernadette to the police station for the formal investigation. Data from the Hong Kong Immigration Department shows that as of end of January 2024, the total number of Filipino domestic helpers in Hong Kong has gone up to 201,104. Despite strong labor laws protecting foreign domestic workers in Hong Kong, cases of abuse and exploitation still occur from time to time. The DMW reiterates its commitment to protect OFWs as it urges those facing abuse to immediately seek help from the Philippine embassies, consulates, or labor and welfare offices.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza-de Guzman.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.